out of the ordinary insights. Brought to you by Investex Specialist Bank.
Captains of Industry. Tonight we're speaking to Mark Bradford. He is the chairman of Jones Lang LaSalle, New York listed with properties around the world. On Monday, he was appointed chairman of their African outfit. And tonight, we're talking to him about their Africa strategy, and also we're talking to him about where he started and why. Mark, thanks for your time.
Evening, Godfrey. Hi.
So you are a property man, but you're also a farmer. The two, I can't see them mixing.
Yeah, well, life is what happens to you amongst your best laid plans, I think. I actually tried to start off life as studying law. During one holiday from varsity, I had a job with a property firm. Right. Saw that there was a gap in the research market in those days. So kind of a couple of weeks after, set up my own research company because there wasn't one in South Africa at that stage. And the story's just carried on from there. So
property first. So what came first? Was it the property or was it the farming? Which one is?
No. Property.
Property came first.
The farming is a passion. It's
what do you farm?
It's the balance in life. Oh, I just run a few Nguni cattle and live in a beautiful part of the country, KwaZulu-Natal, between Mooi River and Nottingham Road. And that's the big stress release and the balance.
So how do you balance it? Running property company at the same time looking after a few Nguni cattle, as you put it?
With difficulty, I think what you've got to be. You've got to draw the lines. Life, work is important and careers are fantastic, but that's not all there is. Family are obviously the very strong base. Yeah. Because quite honestly, if it's not for family, there's no point in doing it.
No, for sure.
And if you are fortunate enough to be able to sneak in a bit of a passion, that's a wonderful thing to do.
But what we hear many times is when executives describe their lives, they talk about what they do in their business. Of course, they talk about the family aspect of it. But many of the smaller businesses are run along sort of like family lines, if you know what I mean. They try to build a family culture there. And therein, I think, lies the conflict. It is difficult for some people to manage. How do you do it?
Quite interesting. In terms of the business that I was involved in setting up prior to Jones Lang LaSalle acquiring it, we had a very strong family culture there. And in fact, we've managed to maintain that despite the fact that we're a global corporate. Right. So the South African office is actually very different to any of our other offices around the world. And I always say to staff, if kids are playing sport on a Wednesday afternoon, go and watch it, because you can never replace that time. And if there's work to do, catch up with it on a Saturday morning when you're quiet. I think you need to almost dissolve the boundaries between work and life and kind of make work part of life.
But then how do you make the work productive? Because that's a key challenge, isn't it? You want people to be productive while they're at work, but you also want to make them feel their family.
Yeah. I really, in any interviews that I do for new staff, I look for a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit, but of equal importance to me is to ensure that people have life beyond work. Right. So if it's not family, all of our staff will have a sporting passion, very important, a hobby, something else that drives them, because I think balanced people are naturally more productive. They've had to learn to manage their time better. If people, come for an interview and you ask them, what they do in life, and they say, well, no, I work 7 days a week, I'm not too sure those are the productive people.
Yeah, that's interesting for me because now you are part of Jones Lang LaSalle, an American company. And American companies, when people talk about them in Africa, they are known for very long hours. Yes. I don't know whether that's what you're finding at Jones Lang LaSalle.
We have the geographical advantage. We're quite nice and far. To be honest with you, it's about results. Yeah. It's about having people that really service clients well. Yeah. And apart from that, what we do in our own time is essentially our own. Something quite interesting, we don't have a leave policy. Oh. So we don't turn around to people and say you're entitled to 10 days leave or 15 days leave a year. It's in their contracts, but we don't count it. And the interesting thing is people tend to take less leave when you do it on that basis than regulated where they feel they've got to fit in their 20 or 25 days a year. And it's a strange thing, but it's always worked for us, as long as the productivity's there. Yeah. And obviously there are limits. You can't go and leave for 6 months at a time.
How long have you had the policy?
Oh, right since the very beginning.
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
So maybe let's go to the beginning, because perhaps that's where the roots lie, right? How was it at the beginning? You saw an opportunity, you came in.
Yeah, at the beginning we...
Plain sailing?
No, not at all. Firstly, as I say, research wasn't established.
Right.
I managed to get hold of a little office in Parktown.
Yeah.
Try to come up with a product. Very difficult to sell because unless you've got a market, it's hard to justify. I had no capital. That was the other thing. We started that off. I then managed to recruit a gentleman. I won't mention his name, but he was actually a teller in a cafe. Young guy. I thought he was very sharp. Today he is actually one of the leading lights in our listed real estate sector. He'd never been in the game before.
Oh, why don't you mention him?
And together we built up this little research company, which was fantastic.
What were you researching?
Really, which tenants were where. So we almost walked every building in those days, from Penmore Towers all the way through to Midrand, which hardly existed. This was in about 83, 84. And basically, looked at information of which tenants were where, who was moving, who wasn't, what vacancies were available in the market, and we ended up selling this information. In those days, we did it in DOS. There wasn't Windows.
Yes. I
and
remember
we used to bind the information in leather-bound manuals, and we used to sell limited editions to the property market, and that carried on until about 1989. And of course, studying went by the wayside.
There's work to be done.
We had 35 staff at that stage in the little research business, which we then closed and decided to actually go into the sort of broking and trading side of property. And so a small company called Bradford McCormack was started in '89. And very blessed. I managed to surround myself with very clever people, which by the way, it's always a good leadership secret. Just surround yourself by clever and more intelligent people. And then I did that until about '94, and left the business and went and spent a bit of time with one of our big institutions, also on the property side. Right. And then went and worked for one of the leading developers for a couple of years, only to hear that Bradford McCormack was about to close down. The partners at that stage had decided they were going to look for other opportunities. Wow. So again, I managed to rustle up some intelligent entrepreneurs, and we went and essentially took over the shell and developed a very nice family business.
So you went back, took over, and just basically resuscitated the business to the extent that Lang LaSalle looked at it and said, this is our way into Africa.
Exactly. I mean, all of our, and by the way, gathered a lot of partners during the years and built up a strong business. Yeah. And I think, the ultimate dream or ambition was realized. You suddenly get a knock on the door from one of the biggest property service providers in the globe. Yeah. And they chose us for their entry.
Was it a difficult decision to sell?
No. And I think this is the problem, because you start off developing a small business, a small family business. The business grows. Obviously, as it grows, you start to lose your personality. And the problem that I had was to ensure that I had career paths for people.
Right.
So the average person at that stage had been with the business for 10 years. And they generally came in when they were relatively young. Now they're sort of in their late 30s, early 40s, still doing pretty much what they were 10 years before when they joined the business. Right. And my concern was, how do I retain these people? And what is the next step? And that's where Lang LaSalle are incredible.
How difficult and how important is that to retain your staff?
It's critical. It's absolutely critical, particularly if you've built the character of the business around key individuals.
In your business, who does that? Is that you, or is that management? Is that line managers?
No, it was a very, very flat management structure, I'm afraid. Pretty much a dictatorship, unfortunately.
Happy family dictatorship.
Yeah, well, yes. No, it was very flat. And again, the size of the business, I mean, at that stage, it was only 24 people. So not enough to have, tiers of management, etc. Sure. We're now about 47. We'll probably be in the region of about 65 by the end of next year.
Yeah.
And obviously in that sort of scale, you can now start, introducing tiers of management.
Yeah. Do you miss it?
No.
The flat structure, the closeness to the people?
I miss the people, yes, because the business obviously has got that much bigger. But the opportunities and the energy that has been created in the last 2 years and the future,
Yeah.
more than makes up for everybody. By the way,
Yeah.
everybody.
Talk to me a little bit about the leave again. So on average, what were people taking for leave while you had this policy?
I haven't really counted it. But
Yeah.
the deal always is, you need to take leave because well-rested people are productive people.
Yeah.
So if I saw that anybody, was only going away for 3 weeks in December, I would
Yeah.
strongly suggest that they have a couple of other gaps. Only counted it once or twice when, I felt that it was maybe being abused a little bit, just to sort of see how we tallied. But yeah.
Do you think it works better because your organization was small? Would it work in a big organization where you've got thousands of people, like you're now part of this global empire now, obviously with thousands of people that are on the payroll?
Yeah, I think in a small business you are missed. There's not enough room to hide.
Yeah.
Okay,
True.
so if you're not there, it is kind of noticed. But equally, it also allowed people to follow their out of office ambitions. So we have a couple of iron men and ladies in the office. We, quite a lot of cyclists and a lot of, as I say, sporting people with cultural pursuits, family times, that type of thing. And generally, again, you develop a well-rounded person, and also through those activities, they introduce new networks into our business.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it worked well.